Hey everyone, it's Dr. Dan, president of the Functional Aging Institute, and I am joined by Katey Forth today, the CEO of Zibrio. And Katey actually has her PhD from the University of Houston in motor control and has been the CEO of Zibrio, I think, since 2015. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
All right, so just about a year younger than the Functional Aging Institute. So I want to ask Katey a couple of questions. She's speaking at the Functional Aging Summit coming up here in less than 4 weeks now. I want to ask you a couple of questions of, let's start with why a PhD in motor control, and how did that sort of eventually lead to Zibrio and the product you're developing, as well as the balance specialist?
Yeah, well, it's funny that when people hear motor control, they instantly think about cars. But no, we're talking about the way that the body controls its movement. A very complicated and complex system. Some might say more complicated than cars. So with that, there's many different parts to controlling the movement, and encompassing all movement is your ability to maintain stability. Postural control. So that's my area of specialty, is postural stability control, and especially relating to gravity situations. Without gravity, I did my postdoc at NASA, and we, of course, NASA is all about gravity, and so we were the experts in understanding postural control for different gravity situations. And actually, it was while studying the postural stability control of astronauts before they go up to space, when they come back from space, also when they're on the moon. When we look at that, we were able to then quantify, well, how does the body control itself? Can we put it into an easy to understand number? And in doing so, we actually came up with something that has led us to Zibrio, because when you can quantify one's ability to balance, you can then work out, well, is what I'm doing actually working or not?
Yeah, so when you say postural stability, for those that aren't maybe even familiar with that term, maybe you could simplify that for a little bit, because I hear, when I hear postural stability, I hear the ability to control yourself from falling, but it's not just that, right? It's the ability to control yourself in all sorts of different movements, right? I mean, in some cases, I want to fall, right? I mean, in certain sports, you might want to dive or slide, or you might want to wind up on the ground, right? So, so it's all of those, controlling whatever your postural position happens to be, and of course, when you're in no gravity, I don't know what falling even looks like in that. So maybe just simplify what you mean by the postural control and your years of research at NASA as well, in just a minute or two, for those of us who aren't quite as familiar.
Well, so balance is like the common term for it, but that doesn't really do justice, because your body's taking in so many sensory inputs. You've got your inner ear, your vision, as well as many others, and the body's then trying to work out, okay, where am I in space relative to the ground, relative to the chair I'm sitting on? I'm using my eyes to look at the camera at the moment. I can't use that now to balance myself. And so postural stability is all about, can I keep my body balanced? Can I keep my body in the place I want it to be, knowing where it is, knowing where I want it to be, and how do I make that happen? So it's a very complicated process, which we take for granted because our body's doing it every single day. And then when we hit 60s, 70s, 80s, suddenly the system's not working quite as well as it might be when we're in our 20s. And then suddenly people say, oh, it's all not working. But no, it's a very complicated system. And so for us at NASA, we see, well, what happens when you aren't in gravity for a long time? How has the body deteriorated? And that's a bit of a proxy towards what the aging process is like.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit about Zibrio. What sort of led from, you get a PhD at the University of Houston in motor control, you do a postdoc at NASA, which for those of us, space and science geeks sounds super cool, to then Zibrio and working on balance education and balance projects. So tell us that transition, and And I'm also curious, does the name Zibrio have any special meaning? Where does that come from?
It comes from the origin of equilibrium, so brio, brium, but it
Okay.
is a made-up word.
All right. Okay.
But we like it starting with a Z that's full of energy. And, whenever you're talking about falling down and activity, it doesn't need to be anything fear-based or, overly negative or clinical. It really is about positive promotion. And that's what we're all about, which is why we particularly like it, starting with the Z for zest and ending with equilibrium.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. So tell me just briefly, your session at the Functional Aging Summit, what are some of the things you're going to cover? Why should somebody listening to this interview say, okay, I got to register for the summit because I got to check out Dr. Forth's live session?
I mean, I think the main thing is that anytime you can take cutting edge science and apply it to your clients, you have to take the opportunity. There's so many myths out there. There's so many generalized pieces of information. And when you're talking about falling down and balance, it's like, okay, stand on one leg. That doesn't do enough. It really doesn't. And if you're truly trying to help your client, then you need to understand the fundamentals, not in an in-depth way, but you need to understand the context around everything. And to answer your question before the name of the company, the reason we got into this is because, well, two main reasons. I have a grandmother who sadly has passed away now. She did live to 100. However, the last 15 years of her life were pretty miserable, even though she was really athletic all the way up until the point that she had a fall. That fall, broken hip, broken wrist, she had to go into hospital. Then the mental capacity started to drop just dramatically at that point because she was no longer physically active. So even though she was able to recover from the fractures, she was nothing like the person she was before, and it
Yeah.
was just heartbreaking to see. So I had that experience. My co-founder at NASA had the very similar experience.
Hmm.
And when you're sitting on an invention, on this cutting edge science that you've created it for astronauts, and it's an incredible accomplishment, and we realize the power of it. There we are sitting at NASA at lunch one day, realizing what we'd done. So, this can help a lot of people here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do that. And so that is what led us to Zibrio. And then the other side of it is that I've been a competitive athlete all my life, and I've used science to my benefit for performance. And as I've got older, I've been able to maximize my performance and squeeze out as much as I possibly can. And knowing what I know, I've been able to perform at the highest elite level for 25 years. So, I felt it in practice. I've seen the other side of it, and all of those things coming together means let's save the world from falling down. Let's give them the tools that can really help them to be their best version of themselves.
That's great. I love it. Well, I have to ask because now I'm wondering what sports, what competition?
Ultimate frisbee,
Oh,
and actually a
excellent.
world champion.
Excellent. Excellent.
I was
My two boys would absolutely appreciate that. They would be thrilled.
yeah.
That's great.
I was
So
a competitive gymnast till 19, so I felt gravity in all the pluses and minuses, and I was a competitive track athlete and tennis player as well. So I've
excellent.
experienced a lot of sports.
Yeah, well, ultimate frisbee and tennis are both, and most track things are definitely lifetime sports. Not sure about gymnastics if that's something you want to continue to do in your 50s and 60s, but I see people doing it. So,
Yeah.
so I love what you guys have developed. I think the product that you're going to put out this fall is absolutely going to be an industry changer. I mean, current statistics in the United States are every 19 seconds, someone is showing up at the ER with a fall-related injury. And over 1 million hospital admissions a year due to fall-related injuries, right? It's not just I fall and broke a hip, right? I mean, people are falling and having wrist fractures, spinal fractures. In fact, my great aunt just fell and had a compression fracture in her spine, right?
Good.
Um, so many different fractures besides just the hip. And of course, so many other fall related injuries that aren't even a fracture. And then of course, we look at the death statistics from falls too, are quite tragic as well. So I've seen, um, not clients, but spouses of clients die due to a fall in their home. And in most cases, those would be very preventable. So you've developed a product that, I hear rumors is set to release in August. And it's really a fairly simple product that people could even purchase for their home, but certainly every training studio could have one for their clients to be assessed, and very quickly people get a score. Can you just, in a couple minutes before we wrap this up, I think people have to hear about this, because I think when I look at the statistics, and I've been very hesitant to compare falling to COVID-19 statistics, but when we look at 400,000 hip fractures a year and 100,000 people dying every year within a year of that hip fracture, it's a staggering number. So if we had a tool, a simple tool that somebody could stand on and say, hey, this is how you rate right now, and this is how much you need to be working on your balance to improve it. Just give us a 1 to 2 minute overview of the scale that you are producing. And will it be available in August?
End of August. Yes, we are on track. Yeah, I mean, I think when you have something that comes out of cutting edge science, it is a medical device. It will be in clinics. It will be used for telehealth, but we also want to make it available to people. That our mission is to help people. So we want as many people to be able to have access to this technology. It's reasonably priced. And so all you have to do is just stand on it, and then you get a score. The score is from 1 to 10. If you score a 10, that's like Simone Biles on a great day. So it's incredibly hard to achieve. If you score 1, 2, or 3, that's high risk for falling. If you score 4, 5, 6, that's a moderate risk. A lot of people sit in that range. 7 above is green and low risk. Now, this is predictive of whether you're going to fall down in the next 12 months. And we can give you risk trajectories of 30 plus years. So this isn't about, am I 85 and where am I? This is about, where am I at whatever age? What am I measuring? Because your balance changes every single day.
Sure.
You need to know where you are. You need to know where your clients are so that you can properly help them. And the future of medicine is going to be personalized. The future, we already know this with training anyway. That's the whole concept of personal trainers, that anytime you can personalize any part of it, even if you're doing a group training session, anytime you can personalize something, you're going to get a better outcome.
Yeah.
So that's what we're empowering.
Yeah, I love it. It's a super fast assessment, and to give people a predictive too, right? I mean, someone at 65 can see, hey, this is something you need to pay attention to now because it's going to be an issue down the road. What are the costs and what are the models? I think you have a sort of a studio clinic model, and then you have a home version.
That's right. Yeah. So the studio version is our professional version, and that's $399. And the at-home version is $269. Okay. Now, the clinic version, you can plug it in. It doesn't shout out people's risk. The home version actually illuminates red, yellow, or green.
Okay.
So, it's quite cool, spacey look to it, very modern design. But yeah, we didn't think that shouting out people's risk in a public setting.
Clinic, yeah. So if I buy and I'm certainly going to get one for my studio, if I have the professional version, is it fairly easy for me to take this to like a health fair or a health screening at a company, or maybe even a retirement community, and just line up? And how long does the assessment take? I mean, can I get 50 people an hour on this thing?
It's 60 seconds. So it depends
66.
how much chat you want to do in between.
Okay.
But yes, it's a scale just like a bathroom scale, a little bit bigger and a bit heavier. But you can just pick it up, move it around. There is a carrying case that you can purchase if you do find that you'll be more mobile with it. But yeah, we take them with us wherever we go. We do balance screenings, and what we found is yes, how much time do you actually want to speak to people is the main limiting effect.
Sure.
You can get people through one per minute if
Yeah,
needed.
well, I mean, the way I envision it, because we do health fairs and different places where we go out and do certain screenings. If we had 2 staff, one person could be running the test, the next person could be, discussing with people their results. It's a
Yep.
very practical, hands-on tool, and it gives people quick information as to where they are. So I think
Instantly.
I think we have personally, I think we have too many people walking around in their 60s and 70s that are totally unaware as to how poor their balance has become until one day they fall, right? Or one day they have an incident and they're like, "Oh, I had no idea." And of course they think the dog tripped them or the parking block tripped them or something else got them, right? It's like, well, I don't know if that's really so true. So um, 15 years
It,
ago, the parking block probably wouldn't have reached out and tripped you. So um,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it cuts through the noise. There's no, you can't have any denial. It's an objective score. And if you're trying to get your client to understand where they are, it's a great tool, because you're not nagging them anymore saying, you need to improve your balance. They just see it and they now want to do something.
Yeah, sure. Great. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for being a sponsor of the summit and a speaker. Looking forward to your session. I believe it is 1:30 Eastern, live on Friday, the first day, June 5th. So if you haven't got your tickets to the summit, I encourage you to do that. And I absolutely encourage you to check out Zibrio. Get on their early bird list for this product, because it's going to be a game changer. So thanks again, Katey, for your time today.
Thank you so much.